Oh, hello. Sorry, how rude of me. I was just looking through my very insightful notes. But since you're here, let's chat.
I'm getting freaky, yeah, I'ma bring the crazy. Get that freaky.
You know how right before the plane takes off you have all this time and you don't know what to do with yourself, so you start looking through those trashy magazines on the airplane, and sometimes you look through that plastic card that has really weird drawings of people with their arms the wrong way around instructing you how to evacuate a plane. Have you ever noticed that the oxygen mask always goes on you first and then your child? So that is what I want to talk about. No matter how loyal and amazing and loving and caring people in your life are, the only person you're going to have in your life really is yourself. You're kind of stuck with yourself forever, and I think it's really worth having a good relationship with that person that you're stuck with forever and ever and ever. And I think that a lot of us don't have that. A lot of us are actually our own worst critics, and we say pretty horrible stuff to ourselves and are pretty mean to ourselves sometimes. And imagine how amazing it would be if the person you have with yourselves at all times is your best friend, who is enthusiastic about anything you want to do, who is supporting anything you wish to do, and is just there for you all the time, cheering you on. I think that improving that relationship is super important and should be a big focus in your life generally, and especially if you haven't done that work already or haven't even started doing it. And to me, the topics of building a relationship with myself and having confidence are directly linked. When we look at other people who appear confident in a good way, we're often jealous of them and how confident they are. But how do you actually become confident? What is confidence? Confidence to me basically comes down to two things. It's knowing yourself, and it's not being afraid to show who that is to the rest of the world. I don't think that one exists without the other. Think about it. Confidence doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's always in relation to something else. So how can you be confident if you're not sure who you are or what you stand for? The first step on gaining confidence should be getting to know each other and building a relationship with yourself. I think a lot of us just want to be confident without having to do the hard work that comes with it and without getting to know themselves. And I don't think that that's possible. Getting to know the person is naturally the first step of getting into any sort of relationship, be it with yourself or somebody else. And I think that that's exactly what happens when people who appear confident in a bad way, I think they just kind of skipped a step and they either didn't get to know themselves or they did learn about themselves and they didn't like what they found and they didn't get to accept it. So then their confidence appears fake, and it's not the type of confidence that we, I guess, wish to have. And then of course comes the second part of not being afraid of who you truly are. I think that it's very difficult to do. I have made a separate video about it, specifically about how to stop caring about what other people think. I'll link it in the description and probably somewhere here. But ultimately, I think the very important thing is that we have to accept that we're not perfect. And it sounds overly simplistic, but it's very difficult to apply in reality, that everybody has good and bad parts, and I don't think you can truly be confident unless you accept both of those sides. Nobody in the entire world is just all good or all bad. So you have to accept kind of both, and that's difficult, so yeah. But I think that's so much better than either trying to live this fake life of constantly pretending to be perfect and trying to keep up a facade, which is so exhausting, and I know that because I have done that. And the other option is even worse, where you're not really living at all. You're living this like half life and not being yourself and not really learning about yourself and just letting life happen to you instead of living it. So what are some actual practical steps that you can take to start building that relationship or getting to know yourself better? First of all, I think the most important part is you need to create space. What that means is that you need to assess your life, and this is going to be different for everybody because we all use different ways of distracting ourselves from being able to hear ourselves, basically. In the more extreme cases, this can be drinking too much, doing drugs, etc. Or it could be as simple as just hanging out with friends all the time, or watching Netflix all the time, or playing video games. Whatever vice you're choosing is going to be something that you have to figure out yourself and be honest with yourself and look at your life and see what is it that you're doing that is preventing you from having that space in your life. This is not to say that you should never do anything fun or hang out with friends. It's just that it needs to be an honest conversation with yourself about how much of that you need in your life and how much of that you can sacrifice. Because there's no way you can build a good relationship with yourself if you don't make some sacrifices. You will end up having to cut things out of your life, or even some people out of your life. You don't have to go around chopping all your friends, but you do have to think about the fact that you are an average of 5 people around you, and who is around you is super important. You need to be very careful with who you surround yourself with. You can tell all your closest friends that you might be a little more distant, or you might reach out less so they don't freak out and they don't think you're just ignoring them for no reason. You can totally be transparent about it. People these days really do understand. I don't think it's going to be weird. I don't think it's going to affect your friendships, and if it does, then you know for sure those are not the right people for you. If this is not people who we're talking about and it's things, then it's much easier. You can just chop. There are things that for sure you can cut out of your life to use to spend quality time with yourself and get to know yourself better. And once you've created some space, then you can start working on yourself. First of all, do something new. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of madness. Don't do that. It will get you exactly where you are. If you feel like you don't know what to do with yourself, or you don't know what skill to pick up or what activity to join, start anywhere. It's a complete myth that inspiration and motivation come from, I don't know, a dude on the clouds sending you good vibes. Those things actually come from taking action. So if you don't take action and you just wait for motivation or excitement for something, you're basically never going to move forward. So just pick anything that you don't hate the sound of and just start there. Even if you don't feel excited about it, even if you don't feel like doing it at first, just try doing something new. Anything goes that you wouldn't normally do. You just have to get yourself out of your comfort zone because you have to explore. The reason some people don't know what their passion is, for example, or what they love or what they enjoy doing, is because they simply have not done enough. It is impossible to look at the menu where every single item is unfamiliar to you and tell somebody what your favorite dish is. How can you do that if you literally don't know anything about it? You don't know what that tastes like? You don't know what it is? You can't do it. So you just need to get all this knowledge about all the things available to you. Do as many different things as you can fit in your schedule and do them as often as you can. Another important part of this process is to learn to be comfortable with yourself and without any distractions. So I don't mean sitting on the couch eating ice cream and watching Netflix. That is not being by yourself. That is technically being alone, but it's not really enjoying your own company. What I mean is really be with yourself, with your thoughts, with your feelings, and be comfortable with it. Take yourself out on a date. It's kind of weird to me to hear how many people have never done anything by themselves. They've never gone to the cinema by themselves. They've never eaten out by themselves. They've never traveled by themselves. Go for a walk and don't listen to a podcast or music. Just listen to silence and see what comes up in your brain. That's why so many of us have amazing shower thoughts. It's because you actually are giving yourself space to think and to hear yourself. You're not distracted by anything. Yeah, okay, you have to wash your bum, but ultimately this is the time when people have me time and they come up with all sorts of amazing things and ideas sometimes. It would be the same if you just took the time to take yourself out on a date, do an activity by yourself, try to just be with yourself and hear yourself, and you can learn so much from it. Another thing which is not applicable right now during COVID, but definitely something that you should do very soon, is travel by yourself. You know how they say that it's a big test whether you are compatible with your significant other to go traveling together, and all sorts of things come up when you travel together. This is exactly the same when you travel by yourself. How do you deal with loneliness by yourself? What if something happens and you don't have somebody nearby? How do you deal with boredom? What kind of traveler are you? Because when you're with other people, you will always be compromising. You will not truly be doing what you want to do. So traveling by yourself is one of the best ideas ever. Honestly, I'm a little biased because I love traveling by myself. I actually prefer it to traveling with anybody else. I do most of my traveling alone. I know not everybody is like this, but if it's something you haven't done before, you need to do it. This is by far the best thing you can do to get to know yourself. So those were my ideas about what you could do to do this process, to learn about yourself. I would really like to hear if you have some suggestions in the comments, what you have done or what you thought of doing that could help you get a better relationship with yourself. Something I have to mention, which is a bummer, is that once you've started doing all that work on yourself, you might realize that people who are in your life are not the people who you want to be in your life, and it can get quite lonely, and making friends as an adult is quite difficult. So that's definitely a downside of doing all that work. However, a huge upside is that when you do make new friends, there will be people who truly love you for who you are, because you know yourself and you know your self-worth and you feel confident in who you are and how you are. So they will be the right people in your life, and that is so much more important than any friendships that you might lose, because you have learned what your values are and what you stand for and who you are. So yeah, plus and minus here. Ultimately, it's all about taking responsibility in life. You make a choice every day about what sort of person you want to be, so make a good one. Don't forget to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you try to help anybody else. That's the wisdom. If you want to hear more pep talks like this, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week. Bye!
I'm getting freaky, yeah, I'ma bring the crazy. Get that freaky on, get that